Hey, I'm back with another free-to-play guide, but this time we're going to be talking about Nightmare 3 Terrormaton. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Now, as you can see, my team is a little bit different here. We do have Marvel and Gray. We don't have that Dorothy or Veronica this time. And let me go ahead and explain why. Marvel is really going to help because as you get higher, the Terrormaton is going to be faster, right? So we do have Marvel in here, but he's actually the slowest because his gear is on Dinah, because we want Dinah to make sure she lands those debuffs so we can do that extra cleave damage from Gray and Leon. Now we do have Gray here. We have him built on the DPS, and then we have our Leon also built as DPS here. So we're gonna just go ahead. Now, as you can see, that was probably the worst possible outcome because my RNG was actually so bad. And also, my Gray was not built at all. There was no investment in his skill, so do keep that in mind. Now, running it back, as you can see here, in the first half, we actually did do really good here. This is just bad RNG. Like, when I say bad RNG, like, this is probably the worst possible outcome that could have happened. It should have actually been a relatively fast run. And a little disclaimer here, I didn't actually optimize my stats that I have on my characters because Marvel and Dinah do share gear. Freya has her own gear, but I actually do have 3 attack sets, and I think I did mix up the ones that my Leon and my Gray are wearing because Leon should have been doing a little bit more damage. But even with the scuffed gear, you do see that they were able to clear it, albeit close. But like I did say, this is probably just the worst possible outcome in terms of like RNG of what the Terrormaton was hitting and how much damage my characters were doing, right? So don't look at this thinking, oh wow, that was extremely close, bro. Like, is this reliable? It is reliable. Now let's go ahead and talk about Dorothy and why she's not being used. As you can see, the Terrormaton is extremely quick here. The reason I do have my Marvel is because he's for that pushback with the speed down. But as you can see, the Terrormaton is just going so fast, especially with that right arm of his, that it doesn't really matter if Marvel's on the team because he can't reliably put that speed down on Terrormaton anymore. Not only that, but with the nerf to him that's making his cooldown go from 4 turns to 5 turns, he's even more less reliable to do Terrormaton. Now that's not to say he's a bad overall character for Terrormaton now, and honestly the reason he probably wasn't even able to reliably hit the speed down is because his set was on Dinah. If he also had a 200 speed set, he probably would have been fine. So do take what I said with a grain of salt. Now let's talk about Dorothy. Why did I take her off and what's my plan going forward? Now honestly, I'm actually thinking about putting Dorothy back in there because she does have that life leech with her crit rate built into that S1 there, so that's going to really help us survivability, at least for Gray and for on here. And do not forget, anytime she crit, she further increases the turn meter, so she's really not a bad unit to use. But this is the main thing, right? You're gonna have to build her on speed. Like, she needs to have insane speed. She needs to be faster even than the Dinah. Like, you want her around that 230 speed, and you're also gonna want her to have like around 60% crit rate. Forget the HP, just go crit rate, right? Like, leave her around 15k HP, 20k if you can, that's fine, but you got to pay attention to her abilities. Look at her S1. If this effect triggers a crit, we're going to increase that turn meter push even more. Now look at this one. When you trigger a crit, it doubles the turn meter push, and if you max it out, that's a 50% turn meter push just off a rip. So if you double it, that's 100% turn meter push, right? So that's immediate next turn. And don't forget about the cooldown reduction on your Animus and Shell. But this one is a base 8% with that 20 if it's maxed out, which means it's a 28%. So overall, she's actually really insane. I'm actually thinking about putting her back in the team and taking Marvel off, especially since he's now a 5-turn cooldown, and with Dorothy, she's going to be 3 turns with her S2 and 4 turns with her S3. Honestly, I'm thinking Dorothy might still be the play here. Now let's look at that Marvel. Look at that. Now I do want to say, I do know that I did have Marvel set on Dinah, so if I put another set that he had at least 200 and something speed, it would have probably made up for the lack of the speed down that he he was able to apply. So please do not think I'm dogging on him. He is still a very amazing unit. I was just considering Dorothy because of the crit damage, especially with the cooldown. That's something Marvel just can't do, you know what I mean? Now do keep in mind, this is not going to be the same thing for Hell. You're going to want Dot for Hell or Chloros. This will probably be really difficult to do with Hell. Not impossible, but very difficult for sure. With Freya, her S1 is what's really helping here. Anytime you apply yourself a buff, you're guaranteed to push yourself up by 3%. And anytime you apply a debuff on the enemy, you have a 70% chance, right? It's not guaranteed to reduce their meter by 3%. Now let's talk about Diting. If you actually want the absolute easiest way to clear Terrormaton all the way up to Hell 4, build Diting, especially if you don't have Sonya, Shadow Sonya, or that other Dot dude with the mask, the goggles right there. As you can see, the third clear, Alan EC, he has them in his team. As you can see here, Chloros and Diting, they're just cleave God. So if you want the absolute easiest way to do this, and you have the resources, the Latices to build your Diting max skills, then go ahead and build Diting, because he's an absolute freaking monster. And I do know that everybody's recommending him, but there's a damn good reason why. You could use him for Terrormaton, you could use him to farm shells, Phoebian, right? Or you could even use him to do guild content or PvP or TA. Now some of you might be asking me why my Diting isn't built. That's because my focus has been shells. In my previous video I mentioned shells, and I have 2.6 million credits. My focus has been shells. That's why my Diting isn't built, right? I'm trying to get those chips and those training data so I can reroll my stats to get the most optimal stats that I need, and then I'm going to be doing my gear farming later because that's not much of a priority to me right now. But Diting is really good. I don't know why he's spinning like that, what? But Diting is really good. I do plan on building him sometime. My Gray, not invested in, and as you can see, we did Nightmare fine, but Diting, I'm definitely going to go ahead and build him at some point because he's very universal unit, and I don't really see why not to build all of his abilities. I think I have 8 Latices, so I'm just going to go ahead and max out his S3 and his S1. But yeah, Diting is a really solid pick if you guys have not been looking at him, or if you were planning to build the Shadow Sonya Dot team. I'd refrain from doing that since you need to build Shadow Sonya along with another SR unit. You can just go ahead and build Diting, and you could use him with Great, or you could use him with Leon. It's just going to save you a lot of time, especially since Leon here does have a speed push back, or Gray with the defense down just to maximize damage. But you're not going to be really needing Gray since you're going to be having Dino on the team, so I would say use Leon. And going back to the Dorothy and Marvel, you can actually pick them either or with the team with Diting in it. It's just up to you, but that's going to be it for me, guys. Go on and get out of here.